So organizations generally have, it's very common for them to have very unclear instructions, unclear guidance, unclear set of rules and instructions and guidances that are being followed. And this is a case really in humans that we see, right? People have different perspectives, people have different goals that they want to achieve, people have different agendas that they want to perform. And so when you have a lot of these different agendas, a lot of these different perspectives, that creates different goals, different perspectives, different ways about doing certain problems. So someone may come up to you with one idea, someone may like one idea, but that doesn't necessarily mean that another person is going to like that same idea. So we have this combination collection of different ideas that are present in an organization. We see that all the time where multiple people have different ideas. A person may come up to you for a task or an action item, and they may think that it's good, or you complete it, and they may think well of it. Someone else on the same exact action item or same exact task may have a different negative perception of it, right? So same event, same task, same actions. The reality is the same, but two different people, based off of their own different viewpoints, different experiences, can have two different perspectives on that. So this is a very common thing in organizations that we see where someone asks someone to do a certain thing with one set of instructions, and those same set of instructions you give to someone else, they may not be able to do it, right? And so one person may give one set of instructions, and another person may give another set of instructions. So it's very unclear, right? There's no standardized form of communication. There's no standard rule, procedure, even of evaluating performances. A lot of this is very unclear. And so, how can we fix this? How can we go about fixing this issue that we have in organizations where evaluating employees is becoming more and more unclear? Having a clear structure, a clear guidance, a clear set of rules is essentially non-existent. Yeah, there's some guidances, there's some sort of structure in place, but how can we get to a point where, as a company, as an organization, we have only a fixed goal that we want to achieve? Because clarity is the most essential thing, right? And that's what I want to get into, is that numbers provide clarity. Whenever we have a quantitative metric that we want to actually achieve, it provides a sense of clarity, it provides a sense of focused direction. Right? When we don't have a clear goal in mind, we're sort of digging in all different directions without going anywhere. By providing a clear vision, a clear goal, and in that case, right, a numerical, quantitative goal, that's essential. Because the thing with numbers is you can't argue it. You can argue different opinions, perspectives, strategies. You can argue all of that, right? Because everyone has different perspectives. You can argue that for days. You can have constant arguments based off of that. But numbers are fixed, right? Numbers are fixed. They provide clarity. And so any goal has to be driven numerically. So I'm going to go through a couple of different systems that we can do to help resolve this issue and clear more structure, clarity, in our lives and the work that we do. The first thing is to simplify, right? Just in the same way that we simplify in math, right? Anytime we're given a set of equations or problems, we simplify it, right? We convert the problem into something initially, right? We see it as something that's complex, that's difficult to solve. But then through simplification, we make it easier to solve. We make it more digestible, and we eventually get to a solution. We simplify. And the same thing applies to whatever task that we're doing or whatever project that we're doing, really any facet area of life. You can come across a really complex problem that is perceived to be complex, right? Other people may think of it as complex, or even the wording that people may use may sound more complex, may sound more nuanced than really what it is. And so what our job is, and one of the main things that helps us, is to simplify it, right? How do we solve an equation in math? Is through simplifying it. How do we solve a problem that's initially very complex, very nuanced? Maybe in reality it may not be, according to your perspective, but to other people it may definitely be. So how can we get better at doing that? The first step is to simplify. First step is to reduce the overall problem into the core smaller steps. Right? So for example, there's different examples we can go through here. The first example is whenever someone says quote unquote like working quote hard, right? That essentially, if you bear it down to, if you like go deeper into like what does that specifically mean, maybe like specifically day-to-day actions, why maybe it just means sitting for long hours crunching Excel. Maybe it means sitting for long hours clicking different buttons to open files and copy pasting this file onto this document, opening this website. repetition of copy pasting and running repetition of copy pasting, clicking buttons, and closing files for 3 hours. Okay, that's the crux of it. That's the specificity part of it, right? The what people tend to do is they tend to just generalize it and then they just call it quote working hard, whatever that means, right? But that's a label that actually works for them. But when we simplify it, when we really see what the crux of the activity is, it becomes effortless to us. Not effortless, but it becomes more digestible to us. It becomes more specific. So now we're not seeing achieving this task or doing this action as some grand adventure that we're on, right? It's we're breaking it down into smaller steps, more digestible steps, so that it becomes effortless and easy for us to perform. Another thing is when we see in organizations and sort of this culture of constant activity, because that's what really what 9 to 5 is you want to show constant activity. It's really constant activity, but you really want to deliver output and value, right? You want to deliver output and value, really only focusing on the output, right? If it doesn't like other people are not going to care if it takes you 4 hours or 2 seconds to deliver the same output, right? The output is the thing that matters, right? If it takes you like 6 hours to, let's say, create this file, right? No one's going to care if it takes you 6 hours or it takes you 2 seconds, right? All they care about is the end output that's produced, which is the file. Now, yeah, and for you, obviously, it definitely hurts in terms of time and efficiency and the amount of effort that you think you spend and the amount of energy that you've wasted. But for others, they just care about the output. So we can use this to our advantage by automating some of these tasks that are other people perceive to be difficult, perceive to take a lot of time, but you can actually make it more efficient. You can actually simplify it, and you can actually make it faster, make it more automated. Something that should take or to other people may take 4 hours, you can do maybe in 5 minutes or in 10 minutes or even 30 minutes. You can do it in a shorter period of time because people value output, people value the things that you produce, the things that you create. They don't essentially value how much effort or work that you put into it. They really just care about the output. So we can sort of use that to our advantage to create this, sense of efficiency where we're getting the most for our time that we put into stuff. Second is the speed of speech. Obviously, talking very quickly, it does actually have many different advantages. The first one is normalization. When you're sort of increasing the rate of your speech, it normalizes what you're saying, which it could also be a bad thing. But generally, what I've found is it is a pretty positive idea because you're taking an idea, you're taking a concept that's to someone else, it may be broad. It may be something that they care a lot about. It may be something that's apparently like a very big deal for them. But by increasing the rate of your speech and how you're talking about it, right, you're normalizing it, right? So you're making it something that's effortless to you. You're making it something that you're putting inside a box, as I like to say. Like you're essentially taking that problem or you're taking that task or whatever it is, and you're making it more comfortable, more digestible to you. Okay, so again, normalization, obviously also a mathematical term where you're putting something like between the scale of 0 to 1, you're normalizing it, right? So you're making it easier to understand, you're making it easier to digest. So that's and another thing also is the detachment. When you're not too attached to like a particular idea or a particular concept, the rate of your speech actually increases, and this will help you being detached with whether it's outcomes, whether it's the things that you want other people to perceive of you. You would naturally just become detached to the task or the outcome or the event or the result that you actually want. Second, the third is just the efficiency of actions. It's just going to be naturally faster for you to communicate, faster for you to deliver your results if the rate of your speech is actually increases. And so that those are the three main things that fall under this increasing the rate of your speech category. Now I want to talk about the reverse reward effect. The reverse reward effect states that a lot of times we think of sort of the reward punishment system. Like, okay, if I give this reward to someone, if he does this positive action, maybe it's going to like reinforce that behavior. On the other side, if I go give a punishment to someone who does something that I don't want, that's going to reinforce the idea of not doing that thing. So there's this reward punishment, but the idea of reverse reward is the entire fact that sometimes we care so much about the end goal, so much about obtaining an outcome, that we almost want something in return if we don't actually achieve it. So it's essentially a win-win for us. So for example, if you have this idea of, okay, dopamine detox, right? We're doing dopamine detox, and this is something like I implemented, right? We're doing dopamine detox, and if we don't get the straight A's, right? If we don't get straight A's, the purpose of dopamine detox in this case, let's say, is to get straight A's, right? That's the goal after we do dopamine detox. The purpose is to get straight A's. If we don't get straight A's, right, then we may quit dopamine detox and engage in these dopamine inducing activities. So now you actually have something to look forward to. So you're not bounded by like, okay, if I achieve this goal, then I do this, right? Now it's okay, if you don't achieve this goal, then you can fall back to this. Right, look at how nice this is. Now, if you don't achieve the goal, you can fall back to this. But you care so much about the goal, you care so much about the end outcome. So now, if you, in the case that you don't achieve it, you mentally, this is the main thing. Mentally, you know that you can fall back into, this is the reward that you're getting, right? So this is what's called the reward effect. It's the same thing as, the famous example like that I have is this dopamine detox getting straight A's. Like if I don't get straight A's, then I can, engage in dopamine inducing activities, which actually is very, very helpful because mindset wise, like you're so fixated on the end goal of, getting an A, getting an A, getting an A, getting an A, getting an A. But then how do you relax that mind? How you just remain free is by knowing that, hey, if this does not happen, we can go back to dopamine, right? Right. And so that's sort of playing that mental game where even if something negative happens, we can setting up a system where even if something negative happens, something that wasn't our goal, we don't achieve it, like we can get this reward instead. Right. Having the system in your mind, because it's all about the mind. How can you treat something in the mind such that the actions that you do become more easier, more digestible, more effortless to you. Fourth is creating energy. Fourth is creating energy. And how do we create energy? Really the main thing in presentations and in the work that we do is really want to create energy. We really want to make sure that the things that we're doing are resonating with us. They create us energy. They rejuvenate us. They make us feel fulfilled. They really bring this sense of positive energy and create a positive environment like within ourselves and create this internal motivation where something we're internally driven to do it. And that's and the large reason why that can be is through if we create that energy. So how can we do that? Number one is through increasing sort of, again, it's different for everyone's, but just for what has worked for me is increasing some sort of metric or a number. The rejuvenation or the energy that you get just by leveling up, right? If it's a video game, whether you're leveling up on like Subway Surfers or you're trying to increase the number of score in Subway Surfers, right? In the same way, like you're trying to level up or increase your position in a video game, you're trying to get a higher score. That releases dopamine that makes you feel good. Same thing. That could be the same energy as like you want to send as many as many messages on Teams on Slack as possible regarding your updates, regarding things you've been doing, right? And that's going to yield benefits, but it's also if the goal is to just send as many messages and send like more words, again, it sounds weird, but if it works for you, then that's great. That could be a number that you're optimizing for. And in the same way as a video games are fun, right? Because we have a goal in mind and we're trying to like increase our level, increase the number, whatever the number is, right? Same thing with this. We're trying to increase the number of messages, the number of words of messages that we send. So that's one way is by having this metric, having this quantitative metric that we're trying to increase that can cultivate energy. The second way is through presentations. Second way is through presentations by having this full of logic that you're ready to share and that you're ready to communicate with others and that you're ready to present and sort of walk through your entire thought process, having different connection points, going through these slides, and really crafting a story of what you want to tell is also very energizing, right? One of the worst things you can do is just sit by yourself without communicating, without talking to anyone or presenting to anyone about what you're working on. That's very draining. But actually, when you create a story and when you're communicating what it is that you're working on, that's actually very empowering and it creates a lot of energy. So that's sort of what we talked about. We first got into this idea that, hey, in organizations, just naturally as humans, we're going to have different perspectives. We're going to have different agendas. We are going to have unclear guidelines, unclear rules, and how can we bring these set of rules into our common day-to-day practice, not just in organizations, but in the way that we live our lives? How can we create more of a system, more of How can you create a fundamentally fixed set of goals? And we talked about like sort of the four attributes. One is simplify, just like a math equation. You can simplify a complex problem, a complex idea into the smaller fundamental steps for that easier. So that's easier and more digestible for you to understand and put effort towards. Number two is the rate of your speech should increase, and this would naturally just increase your performance. It will increase the way you think about certain situation. It will increase how you categorize things in your mind. It will increase perhaps even how others may perceive you. It depends on who you're talking to, but it's really going to, from a logical and intellectual standpoint, it's really going to make you feel more, have more control and detachment, have more control in the things that you're doing, and detached from sort of a lot of the perception of others, sort of the result of an outcome, so sort of the result of a action or task. That sort of detachment. The other one was reverse reward effect, where we have this reward, but we only get that reward if we don't achieve a goal. And this is because we care so much about achieving the goal, right? Then it's a win or lose. But how can we create the win-win scenario? It's by, if we achieve the goal, great. But then if we don't achieve the goal, then we have this other reward that we can fall back on. And mentally, this is going to help us keep us on track, because we have that fear of not attaining a specific goal, but now we have this reward option that we can take, right, if we don't achieve that goal. So this is the thing, this is the process in your mind that's going to create a lot of energy, and it's going to sort of make you more resilient and just have a better mindset and mentality when you're tackling and you're going about achieving your goals, right? It's going to provide you like a foundational like point where, okay, I still have this. And that's like something, one of the examples was like dopamine detox during, getting straight A's, right? You can get straight A's, but if you don't, you can go back to these dopamine inducing activities. So there's also like this point in your mind where it's like, okay, if I don't get this, I can get this. So that's the reverse reward effect. And then the last one is creating energy. Like, that's the main thing, is to have this internal drive, internal motivation in what we're doing. And how can we create energy? It's by creating a metric that we can increase just by a video game, just by any sort of game that you're playing. You want to have a certain set of goal. If the goal is numerical, right? That like we mentioned in the beginning, numerical goals are very, very good because they're clear, they're concise, they have they're like a clear one goal in which everyone can, like there's no like different subjectivity about it, right? It's a number, it's objective, and it's clear for every single person in the organization, and it's clear regardless of what your thoughts are, what your perspectives are. So having like a numbers game, playing a numbers game, sending out many messages or whatever it is, creating a sort of game, a video game that's based off of numbers in whatever aspect you're doing is going to probably create more energy for you. Second is just creating more presentations, or just what has worked for me and preparing for those, and just creating a game out of it, right? Making something a game, making it fun for you to do, and creating energy. Again, looks different for everyone, but again, these are the four main techniques that I've sort of learned in how to create more structure, how to create more fun, how to create clear, strict guidelines into these organizations and into how you're living and operating your day-to-day life. Thanks.